Scenes start upbeat, montage-style shots of students from various nationalities interacting in a bright, modern conference hall. Close-ups on name tags: Brandon USA, Margaret Poland, Julian Germany, Alina Sweden. The initial energy is high, but there's a subtle distance between groups. Warm, reflective tone. The next 3 days in Stockholm were not just a series of lectures. They were a crucible of understanding. The initial tension, that unspoken wall between cultures, began to dissolve, not through grand pronouncements, but through the quiet power of a single voice. Mai Kan, who had initially felt like an outsider, found her footing. She didn't lecture. She shared. She didn't debate. She invited them into her world. Shift to a smaller discussion group. Mai Kan is speaking, her expression earnest and open. The other students are listening intently. Use visual overlays to illustrate her words. Asterisk, asterisk. She painted pictures with her words. She spoke of the Vietnamese countryside, of mornings draped in a soft silver mist that clung to the rice paddies, where the air was clean and the silence was broken only by the gentle rhythm of rural life. She described the people, their faces etched with the stories of generations, quick to offer a smile and a cup of tea to a stranger, their hospitality a language understood by all. Her descriptions were so vivid, the group could almost feel the cool morning air and hear the distant crow of a rooster. Montage of vibrant city life in Vietnam. Fast-paced cuts of Hanoi's old quarter, motorbikes weaving through streets. Neon signs of cafes in Saigon, bustling markets. Then, she would whisk them away to the heart of the nation's energy, to the dynamic, thrumming cities. She spoke of Hanoi and Saigon, two sides of the same vibrant coin. They saw the ancient charm of the old quarter, where history whispered from every moss-covered roof tile, juxtaposed with the chaotic, beautiful dance of a million motorbikes, a river of steel and humanity flowing through the streets. They could almost smell the rich aroma of coffee from the brightly lit cafes that stayed open late into the night, beacons of conversation and connection. Shots of Vietnamese cultural elements, a traditional festival with colorful ao days, the haunting melody of folk music being played on a dan bao, ancient temples, and intricate water puppet shows. They could almost smell the rich aroma of coffee from the brightly lit cafes that stayed open late into the night, beacons of conversation and connection. Mai Kan delved deeper, sharing the soul of her culture. She spoke of the festivals that marked the passing of seasons, explosions of color, sound, and community spirit. She described the unique, haunting melodies of Vietnamese folk music, tunes that carry the joys and sorrows of 1,000 years. She explained the philosophies woven into their art and their architecture, a tapestry of resilience, harmony, and a profound respect for ancestors. The mood shifts. The visuals become more somber, archival. Black and white photos and footage of the war. A shot of a weathered veteran's face, a memorial cemetery. Mai Kan's face in the discussion group is now filled with a deep, quiet gravity. And then, with a gentle but unflinching voice, she touched upon the history that has shaped so many of the world's perceptions. She spoke of the wars, not in terms of politics or strategy, but in terms of human cost. She shared the stories of pain, of families torn apart, of a landscape scarred by conflict. But intertwined with the pain, there was another story, one of incredible strength, of a people who endured unimaginable hardship, who held on to their identity, and who emerged from the ashes with an unbreakable spirit, determined to rebuild and look toward the future. Close-ups on the faces of the other students as they listen show their reactions as described in the outline. As she spoke, a visible transformation occurred within the small group. The listeners were no longer just participants in a conference. They were witnesses to a story. Brandon, the American student who had initially seemed so aloof, leaned forward, his eyes wide with a newfound curiosity, the stereotypes he held beginning to crumble. Alina, the host student from Sweden, listened with a profound and open sympathy, her expression one of deep empathy. Julian, ever the scholar from Germany, scribbled furiously in his notebook, not just recording facts, but trying to capture the essence of her narrative, the human element he hadn't found in his textbooks. A long, quiet shot of Margaret. She isn't looking at my can, but staring at her hands, her face a mask of complex emotions. A single tear might be visible, or just the deep contemplation in her eyes. And Margaret, the student from Poland, sat in a profound, contemplative silence. Her family's history, steeped in the turmoil of post-war Europe, had given her a specific lens through which to view the world. Mai Kan's words were not just about Vietnam. They were a mirror, reflecting universal themes of suffering, resilience, and the heavy weight of history. She was no longer just hearing about a distant country. She was feeling the echoes of her own past. The closing ceremony. The atmosphere is completely different from the first day. Students are mingling freely, laughing, exchanging contact information. Nationalities are no longer barriers. The lighting is warm and celebratory. The closing ceremony felt less like an ending and more like a beginning. The formal, segregated groups of the first day had vanished, replaced by a warm, friendly chaos. Students who had barely made eye contact were now chatting freely, their conversations animated and genuine. Laughter echoed through the hall, a testament to the connections that had been forged. Mai Kan is standing with a small group, including Brandon, Julian, and Elena. She has a gentle smile on her face. Margaret approaches the group hesitantly amidst the celebratory noise. Mai Kan shared a final, quiet thought with her new friends. It was a truth she had come to understand not through academic theory, but through lived experience. Close up on Mai Kan's face as she speaks. The background sound fades slightly to emphasize her words. Of her saying the line, as if a memory asterisk, behind every prejudice is a story, a pain we haven't taken the time to understand. To change prejudice, we cannot win an argument. We must touch the heart. Margaret is now in the group. She makes eye contact with Mai Kan, a look of vulnerability and sincerity on her face. It was then that Margaret, who had been listening from the edge of the circle, finally spoke, her voice soft but clear. She looked directly at Mai Kan, the defensiveness gone, replaced by a raw honesty. Margaret, quiet and reflective, I need time. This is a lot to process. But I will learn more about Vietnam. I want to understand. It wasn't an apology, and it wasn't a complete reversal. It was something far more valuable, the start of a journey. It was the sound of a door, once bolted shut by history and hearsay, creaking open. Montage showing the aftermath. A phone screen shows a video of Mai Kan's talk from the conference, with view counts and shares rapidly increasing. Social media posts with hashtags like #flags in the wind, #Stockholm speaks, #listen to understand. Clips of other students from the conference being interviewed, sharing what they learned. A shot of a university lecture hall where a professor is showing the video. The story did not end in Stockholm. In the weeks that followed, something unexpected happened. A video of one of Mai Kan's impassioned sessions, filmed on a student's phone, began to circulate online. It wasn't a polished production. Its power was in its authenticity. It started to go viral. Students, scholars, and everyday people from around the world watched and shared, captivated by her simple, heartfelt message. Visuals widen in scope. A world map with lines of light connecting Stockholm to other cities across the globe. Faces of people of all ages and backgrounds watching the video on their devices, their expressions thoughtful, moved. The conference in Stockholm became a catalyst. The conversation that began in that small discussion room rippled outwards, reaching far beyond the walls of the university. It sparked debates in classrooms, discussions in coffee shops, and quiet moments of reflection in homes across the globe. People began to recognize a fundamental truth, that true understanding isn't born from confrontation, but from the simple, profound act of genuine listening. It is an act that holds the power to dismantle the walls of prejudice, one story at a time. From one small flag, bravely raised in the wind, a message of peace and empathy had begun to spread to the world. The seeds of understanding, sown in a conference hall in Sweden, were now being carried on the wind. taking root in countless hearts, promising a future where we listen more and assume less.